One aspect of dream work that I find fascinating are the dreams of dying people. I saw this firsthand when I sat in my mother's hospice room and heard her talk in her sleep. She was having a dream about her father, and while at the time I was just learning about dream work, I knew enough to realize that she was communicating with him. I was able to tell her that she was going to see him soon, and this brought her a lot of comfort and helped her ease her fears about dying. I've since found out that this phenomenon is very common, although sadly, most family members don't pay attention to this. But one person who does is dream practitioner and teacher Mary Jo Heyen. As a hospice volunteer, Mary Jo has worked with the dying and has written about it in her book, Dreaming into the Mystery: Explorations into Being with the Dreams and Visions of the Dying. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Mary Jo.
Well, thank you, Debbie. And I'm already stepping in with my throat thick because of the beautiful sharing about your mom at end of life. Thank you so much. Um,
Oh,
I'm very touched. I think you can hear it in my voice. And what a great way to step into what we'll explore here together today of how not just to acknowledge that there are dreams and visions at end of life, but as important, perhaps, is how can we be with them? How can we, a dream work practitioner such as ourselves, or a medical staff, or the caregivers that come, and the family, how can we be with each?
well, that's why I wanted to have you on today because I want to learn more about these kinds of dreams. And at the same time, I know that a lot of people might find the topic uncomfortable because a lot of us just don't even want to think about dying. But I kind of believe that the understanding these dreams can be helpful in our discussions about death. So I want to know, do you find resistance from people when you tell them that you work with dreams of the dying?
I haven't been asked that question before, and that's a great question. Um, I would say instead of resistance, what might be what I think you were touching into is that a topic such as this, even dreams itself, but especially at end of life, what rises is our own fears. And this is what I do address. In fact, the book, I share my experiences with those at end of life, but I also have a big do we be with people. And one of the first things is being aware of our own fears. It's okay to be afraid. These are, this is a scary time. We don't know what's going on. We're in the don't know land. It's not something that can be fixed. No one knows better than perhaps the dying themselves that they're dying. And they really, that's what my experience shows, they really want to be met in that place and talk about it.
Hmm.
So
Because the fears, I
fear.
mean, it's not just the dying people who have the fears, but their family have the fears as well.
Oh yeah, their world. And again, when hospice comes in, excuse me, what a wonderful supportive team. But we have to remember, many of us have our lives set. We know how we're going to live. We have control, seemingly think we have control of our lives and manage. And when there's someone enters hospice, that world gets turned 180. Strangers are coming into the house at all times, equipment. And so the families have a lot of fear. They don't know what to do.
Because
We can do it.
it is such a big unknown. But uh, in your work as a hospice worker, how do you help these people understand their dreams?
What I do is what I actually, so I'll back up a little bit. I am a natural dream work practitioner, a natural dream work, and I can say more about that later if you'd like, there's a cadre of us about 18, and we work with a particular way. And it's basically to find this way of inner and outer, a way to just by being on planet Earth, we've lost connections with some of the truest parts of who we are. And the dreams want to help us bring us back into that alignment and that relationship. And so I work with clients, I was going to say all over the country, I work with clients all over the world, what I would say are mainstream clients. That same approach I take in to the hospice room with the hospice person, these precious people that um, our hospice lets the families know when they come on that here's all the support services, including that they have a dream work practitioner. And so then they will request, it's up to them, but they know they have this added layer of support. And so I'll be asked to come in. So already the person knows that they want to talk about their dream. And so what I do is they'll tell me the dream if they can. And I'll start to ask questions about it, what it's like for them in that moment. And right away, one of the first things is that many times, all of us, but especially at end of life, most of us haven't paid attention to our dreams. So the dying can be kind of startled by these dreams. They can be frightening and they won't want to share them. They may want to protect their families. So to be able to about the dreams with someone is really a support for them. And even more so, there's a healing, there's a comfort, there's a helping hand across that final threshold. So what might seem like, um, I worked with a fellow where he had, is it okay if I go ahead and share a dream
Oh,
as an
yeah.
example here?
Yes.
So I was working with
Please.
a fellow and he had a recurring dream. This was for much of his life. He'd have a recurring dream where um, there was a car accident and it was terrible and he was afraid and he would tell himself, um, I'll just wake up, and he could wake up. And now in hospice, he had the dream. He said, so I told me this. I told myself I'll just wake up. He said, but I couldn't wake up. He said, and he got even more. And so I stepped into that dream with him. I let him tell it. So I said, let's go back in to the dream. I said, you're not alone here now. I said, I'm sitting here with you, and go to the moment where you feel afraid, you're terrified, and you can't wake up. And let's just can you take one breath there? Most of us can take one breath. And he did. And we sat quietly. And then, Debbie, the tears came. And he said, here it comes. He said, here comes the grief. So under the fear was waiting the grief that he wanted to feel. And he said to me, he said, and this is a very strong man of faith. He said, I tell everybody I'm not afraid to die, but I am. And what a weight off of him in that moment to be able to share that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very sweet, touching moment where it wasn't me, Mary Jo. It was, but my willingness to explore that dream with him, to stay with it, not explain it, not interpret it, but to help him feel it.
Mm-hmm. And did that help ease his fear?
Yes, because it doesn't mean that the fear is going to go away. We think that we've got to not have fear. My experience, and I'm so grateful for it, I think a quality of soul is that we can feel our fear and still be in the moment. And so he was afraid to die. He was, and that was okay. But he also knew he had support to do it. And then as the end came, it was very comforting for him.
Mm-hmm. Are there any common themes that run through uh, the dreams that you've experienced with these dying people?
Well, one would be, and I'll bring in visions here now too. One would be that there starts to be more dreams of deceased family members. A few weeks, I think you and I had spoken about this, a few months to a few weeks before the death, those dreams are very similar to the dreams you and I might have tonight. They're this way of wanting to say, the dreams kind of say, do you know you're this way in the world? Is this how you want to be? And we realize we have a choice. Maybe you don't want to be certain ways we are in relationships or with ourselves. They're very supportive in coaxing us to find that alignment to soul. So as the death approaches, then I do see a change in the dreams. And it now starts to come in forms of support, whether it's characters in the dream that the dreamer doesn't know, but they're supportive. They come there, they're less and less alone. Visions, which I think can happen anytime in our life. I don't think it's exclusive to end of life. Visions do start to come in those last few days to weeks, and that's oftentimes family members that have gone ahead, and that gives great comfort.
Do you yeah, do you share this information with the family members?
Sometimes I do. It depends on what it is. And thank you for that question, because one of the words I use is sometimes these dreams that they share are confessionals too.
Mm.
Like I was working with a fellow, and near the end, he started to, and I think he was in his 80s. He was starting to have dreams of a girl he loved in high school. And so when I'd come in his room, he'd go, I had a dream about the little gal last night. And then, and the little gal and he would go for ice cream or go for a walk. And you could see this 80-year-old face turn into a 16-year-old boy in love. It was just so beautiful. And so as an example, as I was leaving one day, he said, hey, and I looked back, he goes, don't tell my wife, she won't understand. But he loved sharing that. And
Mm.
so that's what a way we get to be, to come in, person they can share with.
Well, Mary Jo, how can people find out more about you and your services?
They can go to, I'm going to give you two websites. My own personal one is maryjoheyen.com, www.maryjoheyen.com. That'll get you right to me. And I will give you the group I work with and it's thenaturaldream.com. And you can go there and read about all of the approaches we use to the work, including and I would encourage listeners, if you want to explore your own dreams, go to the About Us page and you'll see all of us listed there, and find someone that rings with you and get in touch and begin this wonderful exploration.
We've been speaking about the dreams of dying people with dream expert Mary Jo Heyen.